I talk to a spirit. She comes in my dreams.
What is the path to awakening supposed to look like, to feel like? How do you know if you are on it? We ask these very sacred and sometimes vulnerable questions to many different women from all walks of life. A conversation that needs to be shared and heard. I'm Jo Hendy.
I'm Amanda Parker.
And welcome to the Girl Awakening podcast.
Thank you.
Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning. Good morning. It's a beautiful, beautiful day, and we are blessed to have this special person with us today.
She's already created the most incredible space for us to be in and sit in today, which we feel so blessed to have this opportunity to sit with this beautiful lady from across the ocean. Yes.
And I think it's in a time when everyone's talking around everything accelerating very much, just the calm presence of this person is going to gift us all with so much. We're so looking forward to journeying with our guests today.
We are. So this morning we have Joy Baker. Joy is a revolutionary spiritual healer and transformational coach who employs a unique, multidimensional approach to help clients break free from generational patterns and limiting beliefs. Using her extraordinary ability to identify and release emotional frequency, Joy works with divine light and her spiritual guides to clear deep-seated blockages in money, relationships, and personal growth. This is right up our alley.
Just a bit.
Our listeners are going to love this. Welcome, Joy, and thank you for joining us from way over on the
Vancouver Island, British Columbia.
Yeah. It's so great to meet you too, and thank you for having me on your show. And yeah, I'm sure it's got to be way warmer there than it is where I am.
Absolutely. We were just talking about that, how it's here and it's chilly where you are.
I love the colour of your scarf. It's just gorgeous. It matches your eyes.
Oh, thank you. It's cold. It always seems cold in here, so this warms me up a little bit.
I think we're going to get quite warm with the conversation. Usually.
Yeah, get the energy going, the consciousness up. Absolutely, yeah.
Do you want to ask the question?
I would love to ask the question of Joy. Our first question is, how did your awakening begin?
It was probably when it was on the racetrack. I worked with horses the first part of my life, and I was on the racetrack, loved the horses. They were always my friends, but and I think this was worldwide, at least in North America, the world was changing. Things were changing from more of a relaxed attitude to more business oriented. It was certainly happening on the racetrack, and just with the hours I was keeping in my body physically, I was falling apart. And even though the horses, they've always been my friends, it was just too much stress. I was losing that emotional connection. And I started to ask myself, there's got to be something more, to life. And then I believe, this was a long time ago. I've been on the path 30 years, so when I was on the racetrack. And I met somebody there who I had no knowledge of personal growth, inner growth. I'd never heard of it before. And he started to talk about it. And then I ended up going to a network marketing company and started to learn about the power of the mind and, that kind of training and relationships and such. Then it was almost about 30 years ago, I left the racetrack, an 8-year relationship at the same time. And my whole life up until then, I just turned 33, had been horses. All I knew was horses. I'm sure the first word I spoke was horse. It was just everything was horses. I slept, talked, breathed horses. And so to walk away from that was just... that was so hard, but it was just something was pulling me forward. I think many of us have felt that. It's like, even though it would be so much more comfortable to just stay the same, something's pulling you forward. And so I started to learn about, the power of the mind. And if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. But more, basic stuff. It was just about the mind at first. And then I heard about energy and how energy fields between people interact. And then I got more and more into energy. I learned energy healing techniques. And as I remembered my trauma because I'd gone through, I had epilepsy, speech impediment as a kid. I was bullied a lot. There was, I went through on my path here. I've had 8 years repressed memories of sexual abuse growing up. That was, as I remember, about 10 years. So as all of that, trauma started to come up and I started to remember it, I realized these energy techniques could support me in getting through this and actually empower me. And I mean, it was just like I found the mother lode kind of thing. And so I just got more and more into it. And I realized shortly after starting on the path, actually, that these are tools and techniques and such that can support others. And I went, okay, I know what it's done for me. I want to support others. And of course, I thought it was going to happen right away, but I just did not feel worthy and like I felt like I had no value and worth. So I had to go through 20 years of intense inner work and energy healing in that. And it was September 2015. I just turned 53. I'd left my last job and I said, it's time. I mean, I had no money, no clients, like nothing going for me, but it was time. And I just committed and I just said, so I started doing this full time. I was doing it before, but it was here and there, and maybe I do it for free or low cost. And I just went, I wanted to do this full time for 20 years. And, and people kept telling me I had to do start offering my services. So I just said, it's time, and I committed to it. And that's, it's like most of us, I think everybody on this path, there's something growing up because we're light beings. We come in to see the light. So to seeding the light, we're not born in a family where there's a whole bunch of light workers. Generally, there might be one or two real light beings. Usually it's one person in a very 3D consciousness, dark energy family. And so you don't feel like you belong, like nobody understands you. There's certain commonalities, but these are all triggers that support our awakening. Like there's got to be more. Like I see other people interacting and they feel like they belong. And so you start looking inward. And I think, that's like most of us on the path. And then it's just, here I am.
Wow.
It's incredible, like just the way you've shared what you've shared across there. And I because working with horses is such an incredible heart space as well, because they're such, interactive beings that, they just are so beautiful. When you said you lost the emotional connection, that's an indication of how far down that track we've been stressed or in that place of something's got to give here, because it's a massive separation from something that's so much a part of you.
Yeah, I didn't realize it at the time. I hadn't figured that out. I just knew something. I had to make a change. Actually, when I was still on the racetrack, I guess, what was it? April 1995. I took the Tony Robbins Firewalk workshop and never thought I was going to walk on fire. I mean, like, who can walk on fire? Like but that, kept me going for a long time, being able to do that and learn the power of the mind. But after that summer, I read Awaken the Giant Within. And the first chapter, I still remember it, and it was 30 years ago, says, if you're going to make a change, make a big decision. And I realized I had to make a big decision. So I did. I walked away from my whole life as I'd known it up till then. And everybody I knew, not only did I leave the 8-year relationship, everybody I knew was on the racetrack. Like I didn't know anybody that wasn't a horse person, but I had just joined a network marketing company. So I knew a couple people in that. And that was pretty much it. So yeah, it was a big change. That's for sure.
A bit big.
This thing around decision making, it's come up a lot in a lot of our podcasts. Only on Monday we interviewed a beautiful lady who lives in Bali who, listening to your story, it could be completely different but exactly the same. Yeah. Where
absolutely.
It was around making one decision, but a big decision that just changed her whole world, and she had to step away, much like what you're talking about. Did you feel that at the time when you were making that big decision to walk away from all of that? Could you feel the space opening up when you did that, or was it a little while after that? Did you just have to make the decision step, or how was it for you?
No, I certainly wouldn't say space opened up. I was devastated. It's like sometimes, some people say they leave a long-term relationship and they think about it for years and years, even decades. And when they finally leave, it's like, oh, the space opens up. I didn't. I just kind of decided literally all of a sudden and went, I've got to do this. And so I did it. And it took me, I would say, several years to really move on from that. And there was a huge amount of guilt, and not so much from leaving the relationship, but it was leaving the horses. And because I felt like, even though, like on the racetrack, I trained and exercised them, but I owned a few horses, but not the majority of them. I trained for others. And even though I didn't own them, I felt like I was abandoning them. So there was a lot of stuff to work through, even just with the horses and how I felt. For the first year after leaving, I couldn't even think about a horse because I would just break into tears.
Wow.
It's a lot of relationships, like your personal relationship with your partner, but it's a lot of relationships that you're describing, isn't it? You're so intimate with all these beautiful beings.
Yeah, relationships with the horses. They were my friends, and I'd talk to them, and they're great to talk to because they don't talk back. So just like dogs, any animal, they're great to have a conversation with. They're just there for you.
Yeah. No.
So with that change, it feels like what you're saying, like with the space not opening up, it's like making the big decision, go big, cracking things open. But then was it like the dark night of the soul where you sort of have to like swim through all the things?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I went really, really deep into the depths. I call it the rabbit hole, just going down the rabbit hole deeper and deeper and deeper, and just, got lost in there. Suicidal, spring of 2010, almost committed suicide. And I would have been successful. So fortunately, I'm still here. I made a decision not to, but I barely, hung on there, but I am here. So yeah, it was going deep for a lot of years. Decades, probably going deep into that darkness. But now, that's why I moved to Vancouver Island 6 months ago, because it's a slower pace of life. The nature here, I say it's nature on steroids. It's beautiful where I was, but even more so here. But it's just like it's more space. Yeah. And yeah, like that energetic space. And it's just, yeah. So it was dark for a while.
I want to It's okay. I just want to talk about that part because I want to know what it was, if you remember, what it was that made you not. And, did someone say something? Was it a book? Was it just a thought? What was it that stopped you from suicide?
Oh, what was it that made me not?
Yes.
Oh, when I was suicidal, then it was like I had a little spark of conscious awareness still. By that time, I'd been on the path for about 15 years. So I was aware enough. I had enough conscious awareness that not to do that. And actually, what I did, and it's probably the only reason I'm here now, is I couldn't connect to people. I was so in that energy, and it's not an energy I could rationalize myself out of. I was so in that energy, and I just felt like people didn't care. But I looked at the eyes of a dog. Yeah. And I saw the eyes of a dog. They were actually in a rescue, and I connected with the eyes of a dog, and they were so sad. But that connection, that's what I needed in that moment. And I didn't know this. I was just, obviously being guided and trying to stay on the earth. But being able to connect to a dog, that kept me here.
That's so beautiful. Because one of our questions, I was just looking down at our question. Yeah. We haven't actually asked them for a while, but I was just thinking, great question to ask is, when did you first notice the shift in your thoughts about the world? Because I know you're going in this dark area and this dark night of the soul, and you're having these realizations, and you're tracking back through trauma and all of that. were you also starting to become more aware of stuff that was happening out in the world that wasn't quite right? Or was that not too late? Did that even happen? Was it, or was that not part of it?
I don't know when exactly that was. I can't say it was one moment that happened. I do remember this a little bit different, but in 2014, I mentioned remembering the repressed memories of, the sexual abuse. And it was, first of all, it was for 4 years and then kind of a quiet time and then another 4 years. And it was from 2010 to 2014, really intense memories around, almost cultish memories of sexual abuse came in. And every time I would just start to feel better, feel like my life was getting on track, another memory would come in and I'd get knocked down again. And we've all experienced that, where you feel like you're on track and something knocks you down again. It's like, how many times can I pick myself back up? And so after that, it was in 2014, I don't remember exactly when, and I forgot about this till, I guess later on, but I said to the universe, I just said, you know what, universe, I've remembered enough. I don't like, specifically, this was around the sexual abuse, but it's like, I know this happened. I know who it was. I don't have to remember anymore to solidify my belief, and I'm ready to move forward. In other words, it was like, universe, I'm ready to let go of the pain and start living my life from pleasure and fun and enjoying myself. And it was, and again, I don't remember the exact moment. I don't think lightning struck me or anything, but that was when my life started to turn around. It was probably around a year after that I made the decision to do this full time. But that was a conscious choice, just saying to the universe, in other words, like, I'm ready to learn my lessons and move forward in life from pleasure and fun and enjoying myself rather than pain. Because most people, we make decisions and take actions either through pleasure or pain, and for most people it's pain. But that was just keeping me stuck, and I kept getting knocked down. But once I said that, I actually sent that intention up to the universe, said it out loud, and then things started to change.
So what a beautiful realization, but also what a beautiful intention that you put out there, and how powerful. I think we underestimate the power of intention and the power of communication, to the universe, and asking for support or help, or for your story, asking for things to stop. I think that's really
It's powerful when you and I talk about choice all the time, because when you make a decision and a choice and you actually choose that, and you say, especially when you speak that out loud, you're actually sending an intentional frequency, energy to the universe, and the universe will gift you with that right away. The only reason it takes time, whether it's money or experiences or somebody to be in a relationship with, is because, trauma will come in, or doubt, or worthiness. So this is all stuff we have to work through. And every time we do, and we put that intention out there again to the universe, it comes closer. So, and the more you do that, and then you build the vision and you emotionally connect to whatever you're desiring or your vision, you're creating that in energetic form. It's just a matter of time before you will actualize it.
Yeah, I love that. So that's
is it also about staying in alignment with that? Like what your decision, what your choice is, what you're putting out, and the frequency, is it about staying in alignment with it to continue staying connected to the timing?
Yeah, yes, and yeah. So you bring yourself back into alignment with that, because you will start, doubt comes up. When you put an intention out there, so let's say you've got a vision of something greater. And so you're focusing on this, you're saying, okay, universe, I'm ready for this. I'm ready to, create this in my life. I'm ready to live this. And what happens when you do that? Energetically, you expand. So your consciousness raises and you expand. What that means is all your trauma, all your stuck energies, shame, that emotional energy of shame or guilt or anything, that's got to come up to be released. Now, what most of us do is go, okay, I was thinking of this, I was desiring this, now shame is coming up, so that must mean it's not for me or I'm bad or something. It's just actually coming up to be released. So when you can allow it to be released, or you might have to go deep into something, then you release it. And yeah, then like you said, you align with that again. So you bring yourself back in alignment.
Of that. Yeah. So I think the visual that I had just then is when we, like you said, when we ask the universe for something, or we've decided, we make a decision about something, that we expand out into that for the universe to feel like. It's this vision of it's just going to expand out here into the greatness. And you're so right about, we expand all around us because we're multidimensional, and we're going to pick up on everything that's ever happened in our world to clear if it hasn't been cleared. And I think a lot of the times we forget about that when we are asking the universe for, or making a decision that, okay, it is a powerful choice that you're making right now that's going to bring up everything to clear, not just gathering in the good stuff.
Exactly. Like you said, it's a powerful choice, and it's going to bring up everything that's not in alignment with that choice. Yeah.
May I just go back to when you mentioned in your childhood around the epilepsy and the speech impediment? Because for me, that's suggesting a few things around like where you are today with, who you are as a channel and a vessel, and your spirit and your life work. Have you done, like as a child, that's a big space to sort of sit in. Obviously, there's a huge sensitivity, and I guess there's a lot of factors that can come into play with why those things are part of who you are as a child and what you're expressing in your environment and things like that. Has that kind of been something that you've done a lot of work around, or a lot of exploring around? What sort of brought you out of that space as a child?
I don't think specifically around both the epilepsy and the speech impediment, but I think that's who may, and the sexual abuse was going on at the same time. So all of this is going on. And when I would have, as I remember it, when I had the seizures, everything within like a day on each side, roughly, I just wouldn't remember it. Like it was almost like a partial amnesia. Most of us don't remember much from childhood anyways. Well, I think I had actually on top of that a partial amnesia. But all of that, and then the bullying at school and becoming, I was so shy anyways, that kind of made me who I am now. And that's why I had, I went through 30 years of inner work. And but the epilepsy itself, I believe, after I remembered all this, start to, the repressed memories, the epilepsy was preventing me from remembering when I was, sexually abused. So it was actually protecting me, because otherwise it would have been too much for me. And, who knows what might have happened when I was a kid. Like it was, tough enough anyways, but not remembering what happened meant I could cope with my life. That's what I believe anyways, as I, put all this together.
Yeah, we are incredible, aren't we? The way that we adapt to survive in our environments and how we get
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The coping strategies and the survival ability we have as humans. That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
So we're now moving past, like you've moved on and you've left the horses and that life, and you're now opening up to healing and doing the inner work. Did you have any support in that area, or was this a complete self healing? Like, did you just sit with yourself, or did you meet people, or did you fall into a community where there was more of this happening, or did you attract that into you, or were you just traveling with it?
It was mostly, I didn't really have support. There was a fellow I met right away on my path. He's a therapist, and I followed him off and on for about 15 years. And I got to know some of because he also facilitated workshops. And, back then they were all in person. And so I got to know some people through there, and I'm not in touch with them any longer, but so I met other people on the path, but mostly there was really no support. And plus, because I was so shy, I didn't think I didn't feel worthy enough to make money. And plus, I knew I wanted to do this after I left the horses, so I didn't want to get any kind of, take training for skills and such. I took counselor training, but that helped me along the path. And so I was always broke. Like I've actually had 2 bankruptcies, and both of them I went to debt consolidation. First of all, they looked at my, how much money I was making and that. They both told me you've got to go bankrupt. And I still tried to, pay down my debt, but finally it just wasn't working. And so it wasn't until I really started to believe in myself and my value, and I committed to doing this, that everything started to come together. As far as support, I think like many people on the path, there's not a lot of support. The people who are, most and are closest to you, you expect to support you. If they don't dream, if they're not of a higher consciousness, they can't support you. So, family and friends back then, no, they weren't able to support me. So it was mostly, I learned a lot of stuff because I had gone through the bankruptcies and didn't have much money, and I didn't have money to pay for stuff. Even back 20, 30 years ago, I would find everything I could on the internet and just look for, I found some really amazing healing tools, just searching and seeing what's out there and saying, hey, universe, I need help. Like, I got to get through this somehow, and I don't have any money. Wasn't homeless. I was close, though, several times. And so it's when you're committed, it's amazing what will show up. So those people, for the people who are saying you've got to have money to really work through your stuff or that, and especially these days, there's so much out there. And the tools that are available, it's out there.
Yeah. No. I love that you were that forward thinking in a way, or open to, some people, I half expected you to say go to the library. But when you said on the internet, it was before, algorithms and things like that as such, or, the censorship of information, and there was people just putting stuff out there to be found, and not the noise that's there today, but the information that would have been found would have been quite interesting, and like diving into the deep end of a library, and so it's free.
It's interesting. Yeah, I know you did start with a library. Absolutely. It seems so long ago, but I guess, well, the world has changed so much since internet came up, it's just changed so much. But, for example, EFT and, emotional freedom technique. And I was looking for a tool to get through my issues. And I said to the universe, I talk to the universe a lot, just saying, I need to find something I can use as an energy tool that will help me, with any issues I have. And I found EFT, and I just found everything I could on it. I went into all the different techniques on it, and I just learned it. By then, the internet, that was probably early 2000, the internet was more available. And I just learned, that's out there. So that was the kind of support I found.
I think too, just listening to you, and like when your journey started, it would have been very woo-woo back then too, for you to even find people that you would resonate with what you're going through, because you were way before your time. I think we're realizing, and we're learning more now around the essence of who we truly are, and some of that is leaving behind what we thought we knew, to be able to fully stand in what you're doing and what you have been doing for the last 20 years.
I just want to mention, I was really fortunate with my therapist. He was teaching in his workshops. He was teaching quantum physics.
Oh, wow.
And, he was probably 40, 50 years ahead of his time. And he's the one, it was probably about 28 years ago. I had a session with him, just had touched on, I read Celestian prophecy and learned how, people and energy fields interact. So I had a session with him and I asked him about it, and he said, well, here, I tell you about the chakras. So he taught me about the chakras. That was about 28 years ago. So because of him, he was really my support in learning about energy and such. So between him and then what was becoming available through books and the internet, it was, there's support out, that kind of support. Absolutely. There was a lot of it. But he played a big part in my growth.
Were you ever into Dolores Cannon? Is that not?
I've read her book. The book, The Three Waves of Volunteers in the New Earth, is excellent. When I read that book, three clients actually, three different clients, I kept hearing about the book. They were telling me about it. Finally, I read it and it was like my whole life made sense. It was like, oh, okay, that's why I had to go through all of that. And that's, just all made sense. So yeah, if anybody isn't familiar with that book, highly recommend it.
Great book. Just on what we're talking about in general, about your shift and your move and your change and resonance and resonating with people, what kind of things were happening for you or to you when you were having this shift in your life? Did you notice that things like you were starting to just manifest things or people, or what was happening around you? Did you see a shift around you as well?
I think it was maybe because like I have been doing this for so long, shifts were happening, but it was like I had to make them happen. Okay. And in other words, I had to take the action and then the shift would happen. Where before, I think because the energy is, humanity is such a higher consciousness and the energy is there's so much more light in the humanity and consciousness, even though it doesn't feel like it, or, with the internet, we hear about all the negative stuff, but there is so much more light in consciousness. So yeah, now you're more liable to think about it and then the shift will happen. But back then the energy was still really heavy and stuck. So it's like I would decide and then I would take the action and then the space would happen. That was more what happened back then.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Yeah. Thank you for being here. Do that.
I always say courage is action. Courage is taking action despite the fear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a big one. That's a big one. Yeah, let's talk about that area that we've just delved into, because I can really feel the density. And when you talk about that way back then about you having to make the decision and go into action, and where things are moving a lot faster, and you talk about the light. Can you talk about that? There's more light coming in to the planet. What do you mean when you say that? What can you feel?
Things appear, if you look at or even read, I can't think of anything but history books or but 50, 100, 200 years ago, it was actually a much darker time back then, but people wouldn't know what was happening on the other side of the world. It's only been the past 10, 20 years that we know. So it's all right here. So, or if somebody does something, wrong or bad or harming somebody else, we hear about that within seconds. So because it's so readily available, it's like, oh my gosh, everything's going to, hell in a handbasket kind of thing. But it's actually from a perspective of light and divine light, there's much more light. That's what the past, and like Dolores Cannon says in that book, since World War II and all the light beams coming in and seeding the light, it's actually been preparing it. I look at it as for the past, 5 years, because it's been really chaotic. But that, I call it the Great Awakening. And so people are awakening. But if that light hadn't been seeded and more light coming into humanity and the consciousness and such, chances are the past 5 years, which I'm sure some people are saying that would have been awesome, if it hadn't happened, but we would still just be in the same normal, it had to happen on some level. The past few years had to happen so that what it's doing, it's breaking up all that energy, but it was ready. So there was 40, 50, 60 years of prep for this. And we've been, all of us, you, me, all of us, we've been seeding in the light. And as we do our inner work, that's another thing. I believe that as light workers, you're doing your inner work. You're not just doing it for yourself. You're doing it for all of humanity. So when you do your inner work, you work through whether it's shame or guilt or something that happened to you or worthiness issues or anything else. You're helping all of humanity. You are helping raise a consciousness of humanity. And I'm saying this for anybody who's listening going, oh my gosh, like I've been doing so much inner work, or I shouldn't feel this way. We often, I shouldn't feel shame or guilt after all this work. Well, what if you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for others? So you are helping to raise a consciousness of humanity. And as you do that, you release that, you're bringing more light, you're seeding more light into the planet. So yeah, I absolutely believe there's way more light in human consciousness and in I don't want to say the planet itself, but the way we interact with the planet and such than there was, say, 100 or 200 years ago.
Beautiful. Yeah, I heard you when you spoke around Tony Robbins before and the EFT, which I'm not sure who you learnt that through, but on the internet. But I know Louise Hay had a big role in also bringing that to more awareness. And through that sort of decade of I guess it was like the 90s when there was like Wayne Dwyer and Deepak Chopra and those big energy people that were touring the world, and you could go to a auditorium and hear them speak, and the resonance of their voices and that group environment was just each of them life-changing in their impact to the world, and ongoing, and Dolores Cannon, things like that. And the Celestine Prophecy, for me, that was like green light to the masses to step into the space of energy.
Absolutely.
And awareness and allow yourself to grow and change. Whereas before, what you were saying, the density and that being held in place, but you're glued, and then you start to get these vibrations from people speaking, reading their books, and then just things start to incrementally change. I really feel what you're sharing in that space of the energy work, and then your therapist doing the quantum physics and the chakra. I mean, again, the chakra system, like such woo-woo still today to so many people. It's kind of strange, isn't it?
Right. When you mentioned Wayne Dyer, and I forgot about this till just now, when I was still on the racetrack, and so it was around 93 and 94. I'm back in the days of the Walkman. Some people, those days, and, cassette player and the Walkman. I'd be mucking stalls, in the barn, mucking stalls, and I have my Walkman, and my headset on, be listening to Wayne Dyer. And that was probably really the first. I don't know how I got introduced to him. Somehow I did. And that was probably my first foray really into this. So yeah, he was part of me when I was, mucking stalls, working with the horses.
Wow. I know I've got my husband and I have a whole set of the guy you spoke at the very beginning, Tony Robbins,
Yeah.
like of CD.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
Now.
Yeah. That was a while ago. Man, the world has changed.
So changed.
Yeah.
But a gentleman just spoke recently around a Wayne Dwyer moment, and one of our listeners, and you'll know who he is, and he said he got him through 5 years of absolutely hell and some very dark times. And I think, podcasts, all these things where people are connecting into each other's stories and moments and guiding each other and opening the door into there is more. It's like you said before, the seeding. It happens in such special ways, and it's just so beautiful how sometimes you don't even know that a seed has been planted until you start to feel the sprout, which is
exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Exactly. Yeah. That Wayne Dyer was one. He's just such a beautiful person. I saw him live once, and he's the one person in my life I would have loved to been to sit down and just, have dinner with him and just talk with him. And because I don't really hero worship, and I didn't with him, but it was just, that's the one person I would have just loved to have been in his presence. Just being at the workshop, and I was in the middle of the room with, everybody else, but just, I can still remember that beautiful energy.
We have a beautiful, actually the very first podcast we did, we had a beautiful local lady who we both know on, and she was telling us about, she had an envelope that she'd written a letter to Wayne Dwyer, and she was going to give it to him, personally give it to him. And so she made the decision that she was going to go to his, what do you call it, event. She was going to walk up to him and give it to him. And when she was telling us, I was laughing because I was thinking, how is she going to do that? But she'd set the intention, and she was very powerful around intentions. And she literally did. She got up, walked up to the stage. He was coming off, walking towards her. She stopped him and said, I just have this letter I wanted to give to you, and handed it to him. And
wow.
Forget that here's this person that just had this powerful intention. And it was all about what it was about at the time too. This was years ago, like 20 years ago, around intention, powerful on intention.
Wow.
And she handed it to him, and I always think, oh, that's, intention is so powerful.
Yeah, the power of intention. Yeah. Isn't that the name of one of his books, The Power of Intention? I think it is. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. It's so wonderful.
So you've shared that you've changed location in the last 6 months, but over this journey of the dark night of the soul and all the inner work, what have you decided to change in your daily life? Did you need to change your diet, or was it those sort of like day-to-day things? I mean, you've shared that there was like fluctuations with financially and things like that, which must have created a lot of defining limitations around certain things. A lot of us have had journeys in that space and understand what that means. Were you able to support yourself in ways that you wanted to? I mean, you shared around the internet was a pathway, a light red for you to moving forward.
Well, my go-to job, I had survival jobs after I left the horses before I started doing this full time. They were all just survival jobs. And the one go-to survival job I had, it was enough to keep me off the streets, and that was telemarketing or cold calling. I didn't like it, but it, gave me enough money. I was able to, because I just knew with my mindset, some people can end up homeless and get off the streets. I wouldn't have been able to with my mindset back then. It was like that would have just so the telemarketing kept me going, and I was fortunate in that actually barely having enough money. And again, anybody who's out there who's going, I don't have enough money, like, what is that? And knowing I knew how to survive on, literally looking back, I don't know how I did it. I could survive on air. I mean, but I survived, I ate and everything, but that was what gave me the ability to start this business. Because when I started, I had my last paycheck, which was $4,000, no savings, no investments, no credit cards, I was actually in bankruptcy at that time. I estranged from my family. I didn't have any friends I could, ask money. I had $4,000 from my last paycheck, and I had no clients. Yeah. So I was really clear to the universe. Okay, universe, I'm ready. And once I made that decision, like I was ready, I just, you feel it in your body. And I went, okay, I've got no clients. I've got $4,000. I got enough that'll maybe do me a month and a half. How am I going to do this? And I thought, well, I really want to do energy work, but I thought I could do chair massage. As soon as I thought, I had that thought, I was talking to a friend of mine, and she talked about having done a chair massage, event. And so I asked her about that, and she said there was somebody else, who would find the contracts and then send practitioners out. So you got a portion of, the hourly. And so I contacted this person, and I was able to work for her, and she gave me just enough work, enough contracts so that I did the chair massage, and then I started, this started coming, together. And it was actually a year after making the commitment that I was on my first show. I started, so that was September 2016. But I remember sitting or standing in my kitchen going, okay, universe, I got $40 left. I've got no food in my cupboards. I got to pay rent. Like, I need clients. If you want me to do this, universe, send me clients or a chair massage gig within the next 24 hours. And every time something showed up, every time. But I was really clear. But I also, it was like a directive to the universe. I wasn't angry. Like, I didn't feel even, I was going without then. I had enough to eat and a roof over my head, but I was okay with that because I'd lived most of my life like that. And so I wasn't angry. I was just clear with the universe. And I was clear with the universe, if you want me to do this, send me what I need. And every time within 24 hours, I'd get a call from, the girl who did the chair massage contracts, or gradually I started getting new clients. At that time, it was, in person, or a friend of mine who sent me a few people, she would call me up with somebody else. And so something happened every time.
I love that. The power of vision, power of intention, and
Getting clear, getting clear.
Your power, yeah. But it got to a point where you just had to take your own power too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Asking. So beautiful. I actually wanted to, just while we're getting close to closing up, and I really wanted to ask you the question around this year, because Amanda and I have been talking a lot about
Around what?
this year, like 2025.
Oh, this year. Okay.
And what your feeling is around what's happening, because there seems to be a real shift in energy around, just especially coming into this year, around how we're handling situations and the energy that's come with it as well, and whether you feel there has been a shift.
Oh yeah. I think there's a shift. I believe there's still going to be chaos for a while, but I think at first it was kind of a shock, the chaos and the struggle, and that, how do we deal with that? I think at first people thought, okay, it's all going to go back to normal. And I think more and more people are realizing there's not going to be a normal anymore. We're creating our lives. And so, yet at the same time, I think that those beliefs will support people in handling the chaos because when I say chaos, I believe the big, huge mega billion-dollar corporations, they're dissolving, but they're, decades, even centuries old. So it's going to take time, but they're absolutely dissolving. I was talking to somebody, she only ever had one session with me. It was a client about a year or two ago, and she worked in a major corporation in the US, and I don't want to say which one, but she'd been there 20 years, and she said, oh, it's just been chaos for the past few years. So these are, I believe they're in the process of dissolving and shifting, so that it's like the government, politics, all of that. It's becoming and going to become more light in that process, the light government, the light, in all these different corporations. So, yeah, I see things getting, in 10, 20, 30, 50 years, things getting, and then on, of course, getting better and better and better.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying when you say light. I think transparency through the government and stuff like that, I feel like there's going to be a lot more of that.
Absolutely.
Or actually working elected for and working for the people, not for themselves.
Yeah. Amanda, you asked me earlier before the show started about money. Was there something, did you want me to do some clearing around money, or I was just thinking of that if you had, because I know we're coming, to a close here pretty soon, but did you have any questions around money?
Thank you, Joy. Yes, I feel like because you so kindly when we were reading your bio and you shared around how you work with people and the ability that you have to move into spaces and do energy clearing, and I feel like literally what you've shared through some of your awakening journey, and then in the government stories, and where the world is moving into, money is a big part of that energy that also needs to go into a lighter space, as you just shared, and change. Would you be able to perhaps like the trauma story, if you like, that's around money and the freedom,
How we can view it differently.
that is there?
Want me to do a process around money?
Yes, we would love. Yes,
you to.
yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's do that for everybody. So do a group process around money. And these are, I don't have anything in mind. It's all channeled in the moment. So, okay, so just take a deep breath in. There you go. Just take, yeah, okay. So already there's anxiety coming up. And the anxiety is because we are focusing on money. We're going to be in, expanding around money. So, and when I say anxiety, it's everybody who's listening, whether at any time. There you go. So this is the group collective consciousness. So so focus on money. So bring to mind whatever represents money to you. If it's cash, a credit card, if it's your bank statement, if it's whatever it is, just there you go. Okay, so bring that. Yeah, there's more anxiety. So this is good, that more and more anxiety is coming up, because then we can see the anxiety. As I'm speaking, whatever we identify and acknowledge, we're shining divine light upon it. So this anxiety is coming up. So the anxiety in this case is about, as we give energy to support the consciousness of money with divine presence, it expands. And the anxiety is all your stuff around money is coming up. Do I really deserve money? Am I worthy about money? What if I have a lot of money and I have to go out and experience the world and interact with others in a bigger way? Okay, that brought up, that actually affected the throat chakra there. There you go. So let's witness that. So imagine that. Just imagine you are receiving ever increasing amounts of money from expected and unexpected places with ease, flow, and grace. And you allow yourself, give yourself permission, okay, any resistance to receiving money, we witness that. And for now, at least, just release this resistance to receiving money. There you go. And allow yourself to receive ever increasing amounts of money. Okay, just breathe. This is bringing up trauma. That's okay. It's just trauma. It's trauma around money, the experiences you can have with money, interacting with the world in a bigger place, in a bigger way. There you go. So just breathe. Continue as much as you can. Just allow yourself to receive that life force energy and breathe in that life force energy. There you go. Oh, there you go. Just let that go. Now there's some relaxation and ease. So now we're going to this. We're about the first, second chakra, this area. And there's what you're saying is, but I'm not worthy of this. I'm not worthy of having more money. So all the ways you were taught, you learned, it was implied in past lives and this lifetime growing up, that you are not worthy of having more money in it, especially receiving ever increasing amounts of money with ease and grace. Let's witness that and release that on all levels, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, cellular, throughout all time and space. Okay, so now there's a part of you that is almost like feeling disloyal. So if you made more money than your parents or whoever raised you, then it's like, but I'm receiving money and I'm receiving money with ease and flow. And, those that raised me had to struggle, or there are other people out there struggling. Why should I receive all this money? So then you feel shame. Okay, let's see that shame. Let's just witness the shame. All the ways the shame has been preventing you. See, it's thought it was keeping you safe, because it was keeping you safe and living a limited life. But let's honor the shame for all the ways that have supported you up until now, and then just let that go. Just release that. There you go. There's some happiness and gratitude. Okay, and there's a little bit of fun energy. There's your child, feels so much happier and safer. So now imagine, again, let yourself imagine you are receiving ever increasing amounts of money with ease and grace. And this money is coming from both expected and unexpected places. And just open up and allow yourself to receive. And give yourself permission in this moment to feel good about receiving ever increasing amounts of money. There you go, your whole self relaxed. See, now your consciousness has shifted and you're realizing that with all this money you are receiving with ease, flow, and grace, you can experience life in a bigger way, and you can use some of that money to support others, to support change in the world, whatever your heart desires. So now you're starting to understand and see and view money as something that's good in your life. And so now you're opening up and becoming willing to receive more and more money into your life. And you are giving yourself permission to feel good about receiving money and having more and more money in your life and experiencing life in a bigger way. Because as you have more and more money in your life, there you go. Just take a deep breath in. There's that relaxation and ease. Okay, there, your whole self relaxed. Okay, we want to focus on the heart. So your heart and your heart chakra. There you go. There you go. Let's see your heart and your heart chakra opening up. And as it opens up, just imagine it's opening up. It sees money. Your heart views, sees, witnesses money. And your heart understands and recognizes that money is simply frequency. And it's divine frequency. And your heart receives ever increasing amounts of money with gratitude, ease, and flow. And you feel the ease of receiving money and having amazing experiences, experiencing life and interacting with others in a greater way, all because you have allowed yourself to receive ever increasing amounts of money, and you have allowed yourself to feel good about that. Soshoka basa wala soshoko babaka wala soshoka basa wala ka wala soshoko, receiving with ease and grace ever increasing amounts of money, having amazing experiences. Soshoka basa wala ka wala soshoka basa wala ka. Babaka wala sashoka basa wala ka tuka base babaka awala sa sushoka basa wala ka wala sushoka basa wala ka babaka wala sushoka basa wala ka tuka base babaka wala sushoka basa wala ka. There you go, my friend. Namaste.
Thank you on behalf of the collective and for myself personally as well. Goodness. Yeah. I just the complete certainty and authority you hold in that space, Joy, is fine. And the anchoring.
That's okay. Just take a moment. I know the energy is really relaxing, and that's sometimes it's hard to find the words right away after that. So just breathe that in. There you go. There you go. There's some happiness. Yeah. See, as you allow yourself to receive money and feel good about receiving money, then happiness. The happiness was already there. It's just awakened the happiness. Okay. Yeah, thank you. That was awesome.
Thank you. That's just a very the activation in that is just so powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to round it off there because I don't think there's any other place to go other than just saying for our listeners that if this resonated with you, which I'm sure it has resonated so deeply with us, this is what joy does. This is the area, and it's not just money. It can be any area that you feel stuck in or feel like you can't move forward in. She does this work just like we're doing right now in Zoom, and we'll put all of her information on the bottom of the podcast, her links and everything for you to get in contact with her, this beautiful being of light. Thank you for the journey that you've walked, Joy. It's
Thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we're very grateful for you. And
is there anything that you would like to say just to close out? I mean, what you just shared with us is divine.
Remember that you have value, and no matter how many times you're knocked down, you have value, you have worth, you're here for a reason, and you're here for a purpose. So take a breath, get back up, and remind yourself, just say to yourself, I matter and I am important. I like myself, I appreciate myself, I am enough, and I matter, and I'm going to go forward from this place. And then start to vision and feel into what your heart desires, what you desire, not what society, everybody else has told you you're worthy and deserving and such, what your heart desires. Listen to your heart. Just if you're not sure, just be quiet and just listen to your heart. And it might be something that you never thought of, or something outrageous, or maybe you're saying, I want to write a book or do this, travel or whatever, and you're saying, how can that be done? Start saying, well, what if it's possible? What if it's possible? Because if you say that, if you envision what your heart desires and you start saying, what if it's possible, like a mantra, it will just be a matter of time. And you feel into that with your emotion. But just always remember, you have value and you are worthy, you are enough.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So much for your time today.
She comes
Thank-
in my dreams.
Thank you for listening to our Girl Awakening podcast. We are also on YouTube as Girl Awakening. We'd love to see you there with comments on how our guests resonated with you or your own awakening. Please share the love with a like and subscribe while you're there. A blissful thank you to Ksenia Luki, the amazing artist behind our theme song. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.